Greetings, welcome to Hex and Harmony. Hope everybody's doing well. We are here today, glad you are here, and we are going to be talking about the elements. And depending on what tradition you follow, there could be 4 elements, there could be 5 elements, and I'll just say we're going to do 5, and those would be earth, air, fire, water, and spirit or ether, depending on which word you prefer. And I'll start out talking about earth, which is about stability, growth, manifestation. It's also symbolic of the mother and family and grounding. And I use elements in my practice and definitely use earth as I do a lot of things with crystals and herbs and creating rituals around using the earth as, for protection. It's one thing I use earth for is a lot of protection things.
Okay. I use a lot of earth too for protection. Salt is corresponds with earth, and that's a very protective thing that we use a lot of times. I know we mentioned that in a previous episode, and that's one of my favorite things as far as earth goes. I also do a lot of work with crystals. I'm not into a whole lot of herbs, not because I don't like them, because I do, but because I don't like to get my hands dirty and play in the dirt kind of girl, which is funny because I'm a Capricorn, which is an earth sign. But I mean, as far as that goes with the stability of working and making money, I really fit into earth and Capricorn energy there. But I work mostly with water, which is also weird because I have no water in my big 3 placements. My sun sign is Capricorn, which is earth, but then my moon sign is Libra, and my rising sign is Aquarius, both air. But I am kind of airy, fairy kind of person in some ways. So I get that. I also work a lot with fire because I love smoke and I love candles and working with fire. So I do a lot of firework, which is also not in my big 3 placements, but fire and water. So yeah, that's how I personally bring the 4 major elements into my work, is through my astrological placements and what I personally choose to do and where I work with. That's where I get the 4 in there. But yeah, I just think it's funny that my sun sign is earth, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to be digging in the dirt, not growing things. That's not me. I can't keep a plant alive if I tried. So. Doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm not very good at keeping plants alive either for some reason, but I don't mind getting my hands dirty, as long as I can. Dirt always washes off, so I don't mind putting my hands.
I think I wouldn't mind it if I actually could keep something alive. I think I would enjoy it, and then I wouldn't mind getting my hands dirty. But because everything I try to grow dies, then I have no enjoyment in it, and so the whole getting my hands dirty, playing in the dirt kind of thing, just nah.
I don't mind. I like especially freshly tilled soil. You can just put your hands in it and feel the earth energy down there. For me, earth energy, it is grounding and stability and protection, as we said. It's integration in my practice. Earth stands for the direction is north. And going through the elements and around the circle, when you cast a circle, earth is for me, always the final direction and the final element. It's where everything becomes solid in the third dimension when you're manifesting or casting a spell. To me, the earth is sort of just physical reality itself, is what earth represents to me, is physical reality. And what's the word I'm looking for, just solid, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I'm glad you brought in the directions that correspond for you with the elements and where they are in terms of when you're casting a circle, what you start with. For me, Earth is also north. It's not where I end up when I'm working with anything. I start with the south, which for me is fire, and then work around to the west, to the north, to the east. So it's the third one I come to, not the last one, but it is north. So, and that comes from my shamanic training and background and the work I do with that. So it's fascinating how things are similar but different in different traditions.
Mm-hmm. True. I start with air in the east because to me air is thought and not spirit, but it is basically just inspiration and thought on the higher plane. And then you go from thought to fire, which is the desire of manifestation. It's the passion. It's the animating principle that gives life to your thoughts so that you can bring them into the third dimension or the earthly plane or whatever. And then from fire, I go to water, which is emotion, and, imbue my thoughts with emotion. And then finally around to earth, which is the integration, when it actually takes solid form, whatever it is I'm trying to manifest or call forth or whatever. So that's how my circle goes in circle casting, is from thought and not feeling, but thought and imagination and idea into the life force and the animating principle and the manifestation of fire to the emotion to the integration of the final thing.
When I first started, I was starting in the north, but right now it all depends on, and my correspondences are the same as you all's as far as north, south, east, and west we represent. I used to always start in the north, but right now it depends on what I'm doing, what my intent is. But I use all the elements, and but a lot of times I do start in the east and get the wisdom, to get the intellect, the communication, to open the channels for communication and make sure that intentions are clear. But then sometimes, depending on if I need more power or more energy, I will start in the south because of fire energy. That's fire.
Right. The fire's always there to kind of crank up the power when you need it.
Right. And I'm like, I love fire. I love candles. I love incense. That's something I always do. To the point where if I'm tired and I go to bed, my body's like, no, you have to get up and do the thing. So I would have to get up and at least light one candle and set some intentions, peace and protection as I'm sleeping. That's just part of what I have to do.
You leave the candle burning while you're asleep?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. You're brave.
Safe. No, I know. I save candles. I do them in glass jars on top of wood, just in case the fire gets too hot. And I'm real sensitive to things, so if anything were to happen, I would hear it or feel it.
Okay,
I had a candle that was on for too long, so I have to be mindful of the candles in the glass, because the fire flame had got so hot it actually made glass crack. But I heard it and it woke me up instantly. So.
Oh my gosh, that's having faith in your elements, girl.
Yes.
I mean, I've always wondered how people do 7-day candles and leave them burning all day long. It's like, yeah, I've wondered about that. How do they do safety with that? So it's interesting to hear you talk about that, because it's something I've always wanted to know.
I think with the 7-day candles, if I'm not mistaken, because I used to use them, the glass is tempered so that you can leave them on without it being a major. I mean, it's always a hazard with fire, but I think the glass is very, very tempered to be able to deal with it.
I think if I was doing that, I would want to have a fireplace or something with a ceramic or whatever bottom to it that can handle heat and whatever, so that if the candle exploded or whatever, if the glass burst, that it's not going to be on something that's going to catch on fire. So I would just be so afraid of burning down my house. I've wanted to do that before, leave candles burning, but I've never been brave enough to do that.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, if I'm doing, like a 7-day spell or something, I'll light the candle every day.
Right.
But I don't leave it burning constantly for 7 days, because I don't trust it. Things could happen. You never know. So I'm with Michelle. I'm too scared to leave the candle burning when I go to sleep. But I can't think of anything more mesmerizing than fire.
I know, right?
Water's crying and everything is fine, but just watching the flames of a fire. I don't anymore. I used to have a fireplace, but where I live now does not have a fireplace. But I would just, in the middle of the summer, 80 degrees, I would crank down the air as low as I could and have a fire so that I could just scry into the fire.
Fire.
Is that the one y'all work with the most, fire? Or would you say you don't work with any of them more than the others?
I try to keep a balance between all of the emotions, all of the elements, because I did have a couple of funny stories, which are kind of funny now, but wasn't funny at the time. Whenever I was trying to concentrate on one element at a time, I was, trying to teach myself. I was like, okay, this week I'm going to, inundate my life with water, and I'm going to feel water and live water and think water, just to draw that element to me and build up my water body. And that was the week. I'm not saying that I can control weather or anything like that, but that was the week that we had storms for like a solid week. Heavy, heavy, heavy storms. And my apartment flooded. I had like 3 inches of water throughout the whole apartment. My carpet was soaked, and I was like, I did this to myself. I called the water in, and it came in. And they had to come in. They had to rip up on my carpet. Anything on the floor was just soaked and ruined. I had these big blowers going for like 2 or 3 days, drying out everything, and then they put new carpet in. And I swear to God, 3 days later, it happened again.
Oh no.
And the whole apartment was flooded. And it just would not stop raining that whole week. And it literally happened again. I had 3 inches of water all over the whole floor of my whole entire apartment. And I was like, okay. Okay, I've had enough water. I released the water.
Wow.
But I mean, I really think, I mean, I was drawing it in and I was trying to connect with the spirit of water, and I got way more than I expected to get.
No, I was going to say, until I asked about which one do we use more, I try and keep a balance because I have my little altar set up where I've got a representative of each of the elements. So I try and keep a balance with, I have my candles, my incense, I got my crystals and my seashells and my intention. So I try and keep a balance always, whatever I'm doing.
I think it's important to try and keep a balance with everything.
Yeah, I have a balance in the fact that when I'm doing a working, I generally have all 4 present, but I definitely have a dominance of water and fire because I do have some sort of fire in everything I'm doing, whether it's a candle or whether I'm burning something at the end or whatever. And I connect the most with water. I consider myself to be a water witch because I get my energy and my power, and I reset the most next to bodies of water. So I do a lot of work with water, but I do have crystals all the time in whatever working I'm doing, and air elements as well in whatever I'm doing. So they're all present. I'm not saying that I don't have a balance and that I leave something out just because I don't like it or whatever reason. But if you were with me to see my workings, you would notice that there's more leaning toward water and fire than earth and air.
Yeah, I always considered myself a water witch too because I love the ocean.
I do too. Oh my gosh.
It's kind of my thing. So, I mean, I always considered myself that. And then one day someone said, you know, I don't get water from you at all. I get earth. I was like, what? They said, well, you know, you're so solid and steady. And I was like, oh my God, you know, I never ever would have.
That probably comes from balance because you do a lot of grounding and you try to keep a balance of the elements in your work. So yeah, I could see you resonating with one, but other people seeing something else when they look at you. Nobody's going to look at me and see earth other than like I'm solid or whatever and stable, but they're not going to look at me and see an overabundance of earth energy because that's just not me, but they'll see aspects of it. I think my husband would look at me and see a lot of fire because he says I'm argumentative and a spitfire. It's just neat to see what other people see about us when they look at us. That's not to say that what they see is more or less accurate representation of who we are either, based on what we think. But it just comes, I think, from the balance, as you both have mentioned, that it's important to have that balance. And because of that, and because the earth and everything in it is made, like the elements are the building blocks of everything, everything is going to have those elements present. So they just come out in different ways.
Right. And I guess the face that we project to other people can be very different from what we feel inside. So,
Right.
that's why other people, and like you said, other people don't define us what we are, but the things that they see could be the things that we're projecting without even realizing it.
In your astrological charts, where do the elements come into play? Because I kind of told mine, but now I'm interested in hearing y'all's.
Well, I am a Cancer. I was born in July. And I have a Cancer, believe it or not, a Cancer moon as well. So I have a double dose of it. And I have Libra rising. And what is Libra? Is that Earth?
Libra is air.
Air.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I have the double air with the Libra moon and the Aquarius rising. So, yeah.
Yeah, both the sun and the moon were in Cancer when I was born. So I have a double whammy of emotionality. I like that double whammy.
Cry a lot.
And anxiety and, neurotic. I'm a neurotic mess. But I do have the Libra rising, so that makes sense if it's air.
I follow sidereal astrology. So, based on sidereal astrology, I'm Cancer, Virgo, Libra, Moon, and Ophiuchus, ascendant. Now you're like, what's Ophiuchus? That's a 13th sign.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Well, I haven't gotten into what I'm going to get into about it, but what everybody else calls it is Ophiuchus. And that's based on true sidereal is, look at what's actually in the sky, what constellations are in the sky, because that was the point of astrology, is the constellation that's in the sky. So, static, figure. But I have like four planets in Leo, and I think either one of the nodes or one of the nodes is in Leo also, so I have a lot of Leo energy.
Yeah, to me, Leo is a very take charge and get things done type energy.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership.
I get things done. I'm not that, because a lot of times I don't even tell people my sign, because people tend to have their opinions, and for the most part, everybody's like, "Oh, Leos are so arrogant, and always got to be in the limelight, and blah blah blah." I'm not that.
Well, see, that's why I never look at just somebody's sun sign when I'm looking at somebody's chart. And when I work with my clients or whatever, I tell them, you are not just your sun. That is just one small, tiny aspect of who you are. If you want a brief overview, I tell them to look at sun, moon, and rising, but they need to understand their whole entire chart to get an understanding of who they are, because just one thing does not define you. And it's like I said with being a Capricorn, I definitely work a lot and I like to make money, and that is a big focus for me, but that's not everything about who I am. And so that's only one aspect of who I am, and there's a lot of other things with Capricorn that don't fit me at all. So, yeah, it's like people have opinions, like you said, when they hear something and they think you're one way, and it's like nobody is one way.
Right. And then even more truthfully, from my studies in astrology, is like, people have these concepts of what Virgos and Geminis are supposed to be, but that to me is only relevant if, you're born in the middle of your sign, you have that moon as the same sign, and your parents are the same sign. Because other than that, like you said, you've got all these other things. You got your moon to look at, because it's very rare to have your sun and moon in the same sign. That's a
Right.
very rare thing. So, and then even if you are Cancer, if your parents are fire signs and they are, you're going to pick up that fire from your parents, even if you were born a Cancer. If your best friend is a Libra, you're going to pick up traits from them also. So it's a lot of things that incorporate into your functioning as it relates to the constellations.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned parents, because my dad was a Cancer also, and my mom is Libra, so I do have a lot of repeating influences in
You don't have a lot of balance there.
I know I have a lot of repeating elements in my life for some reason.
It's funny. My dad was, or is, because he's still alive, a Taurus, and my mom, she was not still alive, so she was a Scorpio. And then my older sister is a Sagittarius, and my younger sister is a Leo. So we're, other than my mom and my older sister being so close together, and then I'm the very next one. So we're three right there, one right after the other signs.
Right.
But then my other sister and my dad, we're kind of spread out.
Mm-hmm.
Although we have Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn, one right after the other.
Right.
Yeah, we have completely gotten off the topic of elements now.
Well, not really, because the elements show up in astrology. I mean, each sign has an elemental correspondence, so we're not really off topic.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
Everything is connected. That's one thing I like about magic and witchcraft. I find so many connections in everything. There is nothing that's completely separate from everything else. It all connects in some way. So we haven't talked a lot about spirit or ether. So where does that fit in for y'all?
Well, it's in the middle of the pentagram or the circle or whatever. I do recognize it as an element, because the elements to me, are, I think someone said it already, the building blocks of the universe. When you look at it from, a medieval perspective, they thought that was, and I guess it still kind of is, the building blocks of everything. And spirit is what kind of brings it all together and makes it whole.
For me, it's also in the center. I don't usually work a lot with a pentagram. I work more with a medicine wheel type thing, but it is in the center there and corresponds directionally with self and with Mother Earth and Father Sky. So it's definite center with those, with the four directions around it, each being its own of the other elements, which I find interesting. Personally, obviously, I find it interesting if that's what I follow, but I find yours interesting as well, because again, there are similarities, but yet there are differences. And I just love that, finding those ways everybody is similar and focusing on that.
I do a little bit of what both of you do in the center. I do shamanic things also, so sometimes I use that aspect. Again, it depends on what I'm trying to do. But spirit for me, I feel we all have spirit within us. So the spirit comes from me to source, universe, whatever word you choose to use. But I feel it's within us and without us at the same time. So it's always present.
Right? Spirit is kind of the anchor for everything.
Right. So I think we're kind of naturally coming to the end of our discussion.
It sounds like it.
So that's going to wrap us up for today's episode. And then we'll be back in a couple of weeks at another moon cycle for another episode.
Sounds good.
I like it. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.